Hi, I'm doing a brief introduction to this episode before it begins in earnest because this is part two of a two-part interview between myself and Senior Lieutenant Mykola Melnyk of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Before jumping into this interview, you should probably listen to part one because that does a better job of introducing Mikola and really discusses his experience on a battlefield entirely reshaped by technology. In this interview, we touch on many other subjects. In some cases, it's actually a broader interview than the first one. But I really think you should go back and check out the first one before you jump into this one. Mikola agreed to this interview because he is currently on a tour of the United States that will end up here in Arizona from April 30th to May 6th. This is brought to you by Cactus and Tree Zub, CACTUSANDTRYZUB. And there will be several events where people in Arizona particularly in the Phoenix area, will have a chance to meet Mikola and his comrades and get to know what their experience has been like on the battlefield, ask questions of them, and really just get to know these fascinating gentlemen. Anyway, if you live in the Phoenix area, really hope you can make it out to one of these events. It's the Voices from Ukraine tour and can be found on the Cactus and Trees Up website. But without further ado, here's part two of my two-part interview with Mykola Melnyk. From the low desert, beautiful Tempe, Arizona, this is Politics in the Past with Robert Ferguson, presented by the Center for American Institutions. Joining me once again is Mykola Melnyk, who is here on a tour of the United States from Ukraine. Mykola, you're going to be in Arizona here from April 30th through May 6th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the event tour can be found on the cactusandtrizub.com website. So that's CACTUSANDTRYZUB.com. And it's the Voices from Ukraine tour, and you're here joined by a couple of comrades just to sort of talk a little bit about your experience in the war and to make it clear what the stakes are. Is that correct?
And communication with and communication with Ukrainian community, with American military, with politicians who interesting what a place Ukraine in the map of new war and war. And we think and we talk about it. Uh, I I with my comrades explain some simple things that if America wants great again, you you need a good alliance. You need alliance who know how fight in this modern war, because American have a great army with great soldier and very clever officers and generals. But Ukrainian soldiers and officers now have a great experience. We make many mistakes in this war. It's a normal. Every army in every time making mistakes, but you can take our experience without our mistakes and adapted it for your reason. And we talk about this because some Ukrainian communities for they very interesting what had happened in Ukraine, what happened, what to think about corruption when ended the war. American officers they need our experience because we have a big experience like soldier, like officer. Because we started fought, sorry, in a time of science of revolution of dignity. 12 year, 12 years old, 12 years war. And we started then in time of classic war. Now we have a modern war, and no, it's very interesting for them, and for them very interesting talk about the structure of a military unit, of training of military training and officers, training of soldiers, because now the role of soldier on the battlefield very change. It's not only men who only shot in the sight of enemy. No, now it's the universal soldier who must know um, in one time he's a rifleman, in one time he's a medical, in one time he's a drone operator, in one time he's a uh, mortarman or artilleryman. It's and it's our experience, and it's very interesting. And for American politicians, in my opinion, very interesting how take uh, how can use uh, our technology in modern war, in war in future, because unfortunately we all see that we have very mm, very strong uh, alliance between the Russia, between the China, between Iran, and between and the North Korea. And unfortunately, in future, in my opinion, will be war. I don't know. It may be big war or it's a small war like we have in Ukraine, in East Ukraine from 2040 to 2022. I don't know, but unfortunately, uh, now you and now we all must understand. Or we come on this future war together, or you force it to be with your handsome guys but without Ukrainian soldier.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I only said it because look, we have this. You have this. Future, in my opinion, have these things. Let's talk about it. If it's interesting for you.
Well, it's interesting for me. It's very clear that geopolitics is moving towards two hostile blocks, at least two hostile blocks, and in Ukraine over the last 12 years, we've seen has been the true front line of that emerging conflict. And in Ukraine yourselves, you guys managed to create an army and a military, not out of completely nothing, but you managed to almost create a military out of nothing to end up facing beginning in 2014. And that 8 years later was able to face down one of the most fearsome armies on the planet. And that is an incredible amount of experience that was required for that. Let alone what's happened since then with as the battlefield has been reshaped by technology. Um, what uh, what you guys have managed to do is just remarkable organizationally. And then again, what you mentioned, the universal soldier, that's really interesting because like this notion of the universal soldier means that especially in the West where we take life more seriously and we believe it more precious compared to what we see in countries like governments from Russia, Iran, and China. Um, but it means that on the battlefield, a soldier who can do those things is never expendable. And so that means that we have to have a far more um, it changes the way that we consider that command structures have to consider soldiers, have to consider individual lives. We've always cared about individual lives, but it means that soldiers are even less expendable than they've ever been.
Uh, we should understand that the war change and change the price of soldier. 100 year ago, or maybe 10 years ago, um, every general think that the price of soldier is so less, tank is so expensive. That's why we must protect our equipment, we must protect our tank, our aircraft. But this war show us that soldier is the most expensive thing on the battlefield, because you must you must training him, you must pay the salary, you must pay money if the guys have wounded, you must pay money or if they die on the battlefield. It's money, 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 money. And but if you use the ground drone, no, for example, ground drone in Ukraine with machine gun cost no more $20,000, no more. So family or soldier who died who killed on the battlefield, government must pay nearby $55,000. That's why use the ground drone. It's more cheaper. That's why we changed the tactic. That's why I changed the war. Because war, every war, it's a money, money, and money. Yeah, mm, money, 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 and soldier. And in 10 years ago, everybody think that that soldier is the more cheaper on the battlefield. Now, no, and we must think about it. And in my opinion, it's a very important key point for every officer, for every general. Then they planning the war. It's for
Yeah.
my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I know.
No, I think no, I think you're absolutely right. Earlier on in the war, we saw the Russians using mass infantry tactics that would lead to huge amounts of casualties on their side. And I mean, I think we've seen most people who've been following the war have seen the casualty numbers um, on the Russian side, and they're spectacularly spectacularly large. Um, have you guys seen the Russian side begin to care, like to preserve their to move away from those obviously they moved away from those mass infantry tactics, but have they begun to recognize the value of individual soldiers as much as the Ukrainians have?
They use many infantry because they have a good recruiting in Africa country, in Asia country, and in
And prisoners.
Venezuela. In
Yeah.
Venezuela. That's why it's cheap, because for 1 month, from 1 month, this infantryman, mostly it's a rifleman, they have nearby $3,000 or $4,000 in the month. But for Russian, it's a soldier who must who must stay alive no more than than 2 months. That's why it's a very cheap infantry.
Yeah.
But its strategy can work no more 1 year, because uh, we have every soldier have a phone, and every of these soldier go to the Nigeria, Venezuela, Nepal, and oh guys, don't signature the contract. No, no, no. That's and now Russian, yeah, they attacked muscle infantryman, but if 1 year ago they attacked our position in group with 6 soldier or 8 soldier, but every time one group, two group, three, pam pam pam. Now it's a group in two, maximum 3 soldier. That's all. Because if recruiting don't work in the poor country, you have not infantry. But for democracy country, for country who think about citizenship, think about soldier is soldier is very expensive equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I like to think at least us in the democratic and liberal West care more about the value. Even our government cares more about the value of our individual lives because ultimately, we're citizens. The government is our government in a way that the old Soviet Union, at least, and the Russian Federation doesn't, and same with Iran and China. But yeah, even just a straight dollars and cents equation, when you're just considering resources, you just can't expend soldiers, even if you had an unlimited supply of soldiers. You
Mhm.
can't because what they learn on the battlefield is too valuable, and their skill set is too valuable to waste, right?
Yep.
So, okay, let's you've now since you were wounded, you've moved into working air defense. And
Not working. It's volunteer crew.
Okay,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so but you mentioned there's two broad categories of air defense before I hit record. One of them is sort of the bit what you call big air defense and then little air defense. Are you able to walk through the distinctions here and then maybe talk a little bit about your role?
Yeah. In first, our mistake in question of air defense, we think that all time and in future we have only classical air defense. But then Russian attacked us by Shaheds. Our officers and our generals understand no, for Shaheds, against Shaheds, we need a new type of air defense, little air defense. And we have two types air defense in Ukraine. It's a classical or big air defense who protect our city or our troops against ballistic missiles, about against cruise missiles and against flight. It's classical. And little air defense. It's the air defense against Shaheds or other BPLA like Giran, like Molnia, and etc. And little air defense have four waves. Four waves protect. The first waves it's helicopters or civil flight with machine guns. Second line it's the drone interceptors. Third line is the missile like air defense missile like Stinger. And fourth line it's Browning M2. And
Okay.
and because we have this four line, we can destroy it nearby 96 or 98% of all targets.
Wow. So how fast is a Shahed growing? How fast does a Shahed travel and like at what altitude?
Oh, very different type. Very different type. One Shahid can move mm, nearby 60 meters by second. And in American, in English. Okay, we have slow flows ahead. They move it no more faster than 80 miles an hour. Or we have jet shaheds. They moved nearby uh, 240 miles an hour. And they can move on a distance nearby 300 miles or 400 miles. It's a different type. We have small PPA like Molnia. It moved no more than 100 miles, and it's not moved so quickly, so fast. It's nearby 60 miles by hour, but it's very cheap, very cheap. Its PPA cost no more than $3,000. It's a high price. That's
Wow.
why it's very, yeah, and so it's very many different types of display, and for even types we need um, equal uh, air defense. For jets we used mostly the Stingers, because you can see this warm slide. For Shaheds who moved no more than 200 miles an hour, we use the drone interceptors. For more smaller drone interceptors and helicopters and machine guns. No, that's why it's different times weapon for different types of delay. It's like a tango. It's like a dance. You dance with partner, but you have enough and win only one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that really makes sense for why you need a layered defense system with four different layers. That's
That's why F-16 we used in small air defense and in the big air defense, because for us F-16 it's the flying air defense base.
yeah.
It's That's why this flight is very important for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was something that when finally the F-16s were finally delivered to Ukraine in early in 2024, I think, when they finally
Yeah.
were delivered. Um, One of the things that I think Western observers who maybe weren't as familiar with this were expecting is that F-16s were going to be used by Ukrainian pilots to do, you know, ground support.
Mhm.
And that was just never made a lot of sense for where the war had developed. And so, but air defense always made a lot of sense. And so that's really great that it's not a surprise that that's how they're being used. I mean, it's a tremendous platform for that.
Yeah, we were need F-16 in 2023 in the time of big counter-offense, because attacked Russian position without air support. It was very difficult, and we lost very many soldiers. We lost many brigades,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. The F-16s for the sort of traditional F-16 support role that I think people were hoping the F-16 would play. By the time they actually arrived in Ukraine, it was much too late for that. Now, whether they arrived in 2022, and I mean, by the time it takes to train an F-16 pilot is not a short amount of time. So whether they still might not have been early enough. But either way, I can't imagine what that offensive was. That offensive was remarkable in 2022. What was accomplished without significant air support, and then in 2023 we saw the consequences of that. But anyway,
Anyway,
yeah. Uh, so so you mentioned the again the sort of the Shahhead threat. How many Shahheads is Kiev getting, or how many Shahheads in a month are you trying to shoot down, or are being shot down?
uh, I don't understand question. How many shaheds
Like how many Shahheads in a month are
in the month?
yeah,
In the month?
like or even
Um,
in a night, whatever the best way of explaining it is. How many how often are you getting attacks from Shaheds?
in half year ago, we have every night Kiev attacked nearby uh, 100 shakets. It's 3,000 shakets in the month.
Oh,
Yeah. Now I see that Russian changed the tactic. They understand that we have a very strong little air defense, and now they attacked Kiev, Odessa, Lviv, mostly. No, not mostly. Combinate ballistic cruise missiles and Shaheds, and not only Shaheds, every BPLA like mm, ay, 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 Zala, Zala. Okay, Zala is the type of Russian BPLA who can move it nearby 300. No, it's 160 miles, and they have very good moving, very good radio, very good communication, and very good system of vision. And that's why it's a very bad thing for our troops. But if answering your question now, near one in day, okay, in week, Ukrainian get nearby 50 missiles every time, all type of missiles nearby 15, and nearby 1,000 of BPLA.
wow,
BPLA more because BPLA the type of Shaheds.
sure.
And that's because Russians have the money, they have a new manufacture, and they can make in a day nearby 200 BPLA type of Shaheds for near, and it's terrible. It's terrible because uh, we we have not so many helicopters. We have not uh, so many people, so many soldiers. But now we can destroy them, but without European support, without American support, I think in future we have a very big problem. Very big problem because every day, every time Russian makes drones more than yesterday. Every time they very boost. Very quickly boost.
Right. Their systems are getting better. Their technology is getting better too, right? And
The,
they put that into the
unfortunately,
yeah.
yeah,
And
unfortunately, they Russian take a technology and microscheme from USA. From USA, I have some every you know about this information that microscheme in the Russian Shaheds they make in Texaco. But after
mm,
then, this microscheme go to Europe country, and in the Europe country, in Asia country, and after then, they get to Russian. And the most
yeah.
of Russian shaheds and Iranian shaheds have uh, mm, American microscheme, and it's very big
Mm,
problem because
interesting.
now it's problem of Ukraine, but 2 weeks ago it started your problem because your soldier died after Iranian Shahed's attack. It's very big problem for our country.
Interesting. Yeah, I was familiar a little bit with it, but I didn't know it was that problematic. Um, so this is, dual use goods and export controls is a very difficult thing, right? Um,
I
and
don't
there's
think I don't think it's very difficult because look, if you make a pencil, you buy it in Austria. And you know this man who you sell this pencil. This man sell the pencil in Asia, but you know who buy it this because it's a micro scam. It's not a pencil. It's a micro scam. It's very important. It's important things in Asia. You know that guy who buy it in Russia. You have we have intelligence structure. Yeah, we have GUR, you have FBI, you have CIA, and our guys in this government units know everybody who do it.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's not very hard to stop this.
Mm. Interesting. Well,
But,
actually, this
but
is
it's
this.
a politician decision.
Sure. Um, this is really interesting, and in fact, I've got a guy who you now interested me. I'm going to have to interview him on the podcast because he's an expert in export control of dual use goods. And so this is a reminder I need to do that because I'm going to ask him this exact question about about what happens there. And he try to put some pressure on some people anyway. I'll
Yep.
but that's yeah. Um, and a lot of this is governed multilaterally. So it's a very odd world, but I'm going to do that. Thank you for that recommendation. And yeah, I mean, we still live in we live in a globalized supply chains, and it's not a surprise that Russia is able to get their hands on American technology or European technology, and that they can deploy against Ukraine. It's yeah, that's not a surprise.
Against Ukraine, it was. Now against Ukraine and the USA.
Yeah. So how have you? I mean, one of the more interesting things that's come out of the last several months is that um, uh, Starlink and Elon Musk discovered or were made aware of the fact that Russian soldiers had been pirating their way to get onto the Starlink network. And once that was shut off, it appears that it's severely hampered Russian troops' ability to communicate and coordinate. Is that what Ukrainian on the ground experience is as well, or is that just how it's being portrayed in the Western news?
It was a very, very good decision, but now Russian use the mostly telecommunication, telecommunication radio. Okay, they if Russian can see that Starlinks don't work, they make a new decision. They started to use the uh, phone bond for phone communication. I don't know, like it's correct in English. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Uh,
You can say it in Ukrainian.
that's why now more Shaheds moved on the uh, under the border between Ukraine and Belarus because they have a phone bond, and that's why they can move it, and they have very very good. Uh, the operator have a very good move on the ecran. Uh, uh, and after then they moved on the border, and then they attack it, change the move and attack it by north side. And that
Mm,
it's for example because every decision on the battlefield, on the if the enemy changed the tactic, you change the tactic too. And we, and unfortunately Russia, were very adopted, and then the Russians say, oh, okay, we can't use Starlinks. Okay, we use phone, no problem. And now it's a big problem. But I think our Ukrainian government now have um, mm, told about this problem with European telecommunication system.
Okay.
In the ground of battle, yeah, it make a very big problem in first time for Russian troops, but now they they make a new decision, like like new like phone bone 2. They вони поставили дуже багато систем посилення звуку. І за посилення передачі даних. Тому вони зараз компенсують відсутність Старлінка за рахунок телекомунікаційного зв'язку.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I think I my Ukrainian is terrible, but I grasped enough of that, I think, to be able to catch what you were saying.
I'm sorry, I'm learning English every day, but
No,
uh,
no, don't worry. I spent 2 years trying to learn Russian and Ukrainian, and so, but that was a while ago now, and so my I'm wildly out of practice, and I wish I wasn't so out of practice. But but anyway, I mean, so Russia's adapted to a different type of telecommunication connection,
yes.
that with their own, with their own platform, or one at least that they have much better control over, and that has allowed them to adapt in the wake of Starlink being shut off. And so, but what that's meant is that they've had to innovate tactically as well, not just in a communications perspective, because they can't quite do exactly what they were doing before with Starlink. So now on their new platform with their new connections, they're launching a lot from Belarus, where they have better control of the infrastructure of the what's the word I'm looking for, of the well, infrastructure. I'm going to go with that. But that's not the perfect word. But anyway, no, that's really interesting, and that's really interesting. And I mean, I guess it's bound to happen that you shut off one avenue, and they're going to struggle for a while, but eventually they'll adapt. Which is what Ukraine, if the situation was reversed, Ukraine would adapt, right? So,
Ukraine adapt every time because
right.
now in Ukraine we have a joke. We started war against Russia with USA. Then we fight against Russia without USA. Now we're afraid that in future we will fight against Russia with USA.
Well, there's fair enough.
Uh,
Well,
it's only joke. It's only joke. I respect Mr. Trump, but Ukrainian think about it, and you should understand that it's a very big problem for Ukrainian because we don't understand. Okay, yes, American people, it's aliens of Ukraine. We know about this. You support us. Without your support, we lost. But what think about USA government?
yeah. So let me just, you know, it's not just in the United States, but in Europe as well. It's not the majority opinion. I think it's a very loud minority opinion. But there are people who seem to, for whatever reason, support Russia in this conflict in the West. Either they're sympathetic to Russia, or they admire Putin for whatever reason. But what's your sense as to why has Russia been successful in cultivating a
Money,
mind money?
money, only money. Mm, They have a lot of money for corruption. That's why they can uh, pay European politicians. very big money, and okay, these guys. If you remember, Orban come to the power in Hungary like liberal, and part of Russia flop. But money is money, and 5 years, day by day, Orban said that, "Oh, I love Putin. For Ukrainian is the bad money." Because we have corruption. We have corruption in the European country. We have corruption in Ukraine. We have corruption maybe in USA. But nobody support Russia without money.
Mm.
Yeah, Russian get money. Think tanks. They get money. The sportsmen. They get money. The artists. They they get money to the mm, museum. They every time said, "Oh, see, it's a Russia culture. It's a Russia culture." What does mean Russia culture? Russia culture was great 200 years ago. What's the Russian culture now? Ballet? Okay, but Nazi Germany have a good culture. In time of uh, World War II, have a great culture. They have a Goethe, Bach, museum, but in same time they killed Jewish. In same time they killed Slavian. In same time they killed all who don't think like they. Now Russia is a modern Nazi Germany with their Führer Hitler, and they never stop. Unfortunately, Russian people, Russian culture people, they support Putin. They said, "Oh yeah, Crimea, it's Ukraine." Why? Yeah, it's normal special operation. Yeah, because East Ukraine is our land. In what time? Oh yeah, we hear about Bucha, but let's talk about our culture. I'm sorry for this word, but fuck off. You was great culture. You
Yeah.
was normal people. Now you're fucking maniacs.
Mhm. No, I think that's true. I mean, I think that there's no doubt that the Russian government has used a 200-year-old or at least a 150-year-old culture in order to in order to project this sort of cosmopolitan, liberal, beautiful image on the world, or Western image on the world, which again neglects the fact that there was major tension within Russia at the time about this Europeanized culture in the 19th century. A lot of people didn't like that it was too Europeanized. And they use that to project to the world this vision of Western civilization that is completely disconnected from the Russia of the 20th century and the Russia of the 21st century. Um, Pushkin may have been lovely, but he lived in the 1830s and 1840s.
Pushkin had his grandpa of Pushkin was Ethiop.
Yeah, yeah,
Grandpa of Lermontov was a
yeah,
from Scotland.
right. That's a good point. I'd forgotten that. Yeah,
Uh, Father of Gogol was Ukrainian.
yeah, yeah,
Father of Tchaikovsky was Ukrainian.
yeah.
What they think about, what we told about, and in my opinion, don't matter what was in this world. Okay, we have a great history, but now we have a very big problem, and this problem have only one key point: or we stop Russian, or Ukrainian fortress of democracy lost.
Yeah.
But after then, Russian go ahead in the Europe country.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's a big problem for USA, but for European country, it's a collapse
Yeah.
because they don't understand what's a modern war. They don't have a soldier who can hold on position 6 months, day by day, without rotation.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But in Ukraine, we have that soldier. Yes, they're tired. They have many wounded, but we like all ugly dogs. We maybe sometimes have not legs, some have not eyes, but we can fight. European army, they have good technology, but unfortunately they don't understand how technology use. They have a great army for 20th century. Now we have a war for 22nd century.
Yeah.
That's why I think I repeat, I don't know how is the big problem for USA, but for European country, it's a question for their lives.
It is a problem for Americans, whether they like to, whether it's obvious or not. Europe is still a tremendous market for the United States, not only in goods but in services. And a lot of the American economy is dependent on, especially the professional American economy, is dependent on our relationships with Western and Central Europe, and not to mention the finance sector. It's a different animal completely. But the yeah, there's a reason why during the Cold War, the United States believed that we had to protect Central and Western Europe against Soviet expansion, and it wasn't just because we wanted, we felt obligated to our allies from the Second World War. It was bigger than that. We understood that it was in America's self-interest to preserve Central and Western European democracy and liberalism from Soviet Russian aggression. And we've been fortunate since 1991, beginning in 1989 and then through 1991, that border was pushed significantly eastward, that frontier was pushed significantly eastward. And we'd hoped that Russia would be able to reform itself, but it clearly wasn't. And not only was it unable to reform itself, it was a cancer on the post-Soviet space. It prevented, it helped stop reform movements in places like Ukraine. Look what it's doing in Moldova. Look what it's doing across the region. And it's a it hasn't changed. The only good news is that at least since 1991 is that we pushed the frontier back to where it is now. And but unfortunately, that means that Ukraine's on the front. That means Ukraine's on the front lines. That means Ukraine is a contested territory. And for those Americans, I mean, now I'm on my soapbox, but for Americans who want to believe that, well, Ukraine's in Russia's sphere of influence, I disagree. Ukraine is in Europe's sphere of influence. There's no reason why it shouldn't be in Europe's sphere of influence, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be a part of Europe. And whatever history, you can tell me about Catherine the Great all you want, but Ukraine is not Russian. And so it has no business being in the Russian sphere of influence. And we have an opportunity to make sure that it's in the European sphere of influence right now. So, from a great power politics perspective, I don't understand the so-called realists, but that's just me. Um, that's wildly disconnected from your experience on the ground, where you're fighting day by day, and you've endured communities, and I know you've seen friends die, and I can only imagine how horrible that has been. So, great power politics doesn't even really matter that much when we're talking about life and death.
Yeah, you should understand that our communication and our time we should be explain uh, Ukrainian community, USA, or other peoples that my comrades battle in the future. Yeah, now we are veterans. But if Russian come to the Kiev, I go, I take my helmet, I take my armor, and go on the rear. Yeah, now I'm not in a rifleman, but maybe commander of rear drone. Why not? My brothers in arms re-enlisted, re-enlisted again in our military because it's our land and we must fight. And all our explanation have only one key point. It's our life. If we have not anything, we fight. We will fight with sticks. We will fight with stone because we will never surrender. Russian can kill us, no problem, every day, but they can't surrender us.
Yeah.
Because and your soldier and Ukrainian soldier, we all in every time fight for simple thing, for same thing. It's a graves of our ancestors. It's a life of our parents. In the it's a future for our children. With that's why we can't. We can die, but never surrender. And
Yeah.
every time I explain that only the only this one thing. And I say that okay, you you must support not because the Ukrainians are great guys. No, we must. You should be think about support Ukraine because after us, you next.
Yeah.
I lost many my brothers on the battlefield and sister and in the battlefield, and I have a dream that war stopped in Europe and do Russian lost because if no, we have a very terrible future. We have a very dark in future. We have very dark time.
Yeah. Well, Mikola, I'm gonna stop us there. I know we can talk endlessly, so but I want to be I want to be careful of your time. So thank you very much. Once again, for those of you who live in Arizona, we do have Mikola and his two of his comrades are going to be here for a tour. You can find it's the Voices from Ukraine tour. You can find information on the Cactus and Trizub website. I'll be sure to actually post the poster in the show notes. We hope to see lots of people out. I know that in Fountain Hills, which is one of the suburbs of Phoenix, there's an event with some Iranian people, so some of the Iranian community as well, a mixture of the Ukrainian and the Iranian community, and so that's going to be very interesting. So again, if you live in the Phoenix area, I really encourage you to check these out. These are great events and an opportunity to meet heroes like Mika. So, Mikola, thanks again very much. Really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to hosting you here in Arizona in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Rob.